chances the Warriors may mess around and make a little push in the playoffs? Could the dynasty still be alive? Hell, dare I say, could there be years left of championship caliber basketball in the Bay Area? It's the question I'm posing to a great guest today, Israel Gutierrez.
You are Locked On Warriors.
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
We got 4 championships.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
Your team every day.
What is good, everyone? Welcome into Locked On Warriors. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Ways you can check out this show: YouTube, wherever you get your audio podcasts. And if you're chilling with us on YouTube, remember that thumbs up, the likes, they equal Golden State Warriors points. So we need more than 95 in Game 2 against the Rockets. Charlie Walter, host of this show, formerly of 95.7 The Game. That's the flagship of the Warriors in the Bay Area. Also covered the team for CBS News Bay Area, call letters KPIX. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is FanDuel. We do have a free daily newsletter. You can find it at lockedondaily.com. If you want to be the smartest person at the water cooler, hell, if you want to know about fantasy, if you want to know about other teams in the NBA, nuggets galore. And I'm not talking Denver Nuggets. I'm talking golden nuggets of information. Oh, baby. You can find it at lockedondaily.com. How are you not going to subscribe after that? Please, thank you, appreciate it. We would appreciate the Warriors making a deep run in the NBA playoffs. Is that plausible? Our guest on today's show is Israel Gutierrez. You've seen him win many rounds of Around the Horn, highly questionable with Dan Levitard and company, and now finished up a project. It's airing every Tuesday, wherever you get your audio podcasts. It's called Dub Dynasty, and it chronicles the rise from 40 years of struggles to an NBA dynasty. And is that dynasty still going on? Those are the questions I asked to Israel Gutierrez on today's show. Here is that conversation. So Israel, had no idea that you're a Golden State Warriors guy. Fell in love with the Run TMC teams back in the day, and you suffered through many, many bad teams before you got to see Warriors championships. And now I guess you could say this is a little bit of a passion project, really figuring out the behind-the-scenes details of how the Warriors came about.
Well, yes. I'll say hello, by the way. I will say the short answer is yes. I will say, though, that the teams that, so the Run TMC team that I fell in love with, they didn't need to win a championship for me to love them, right? So, the Latrell, Chris Webber Warriors, that year was great. I didn't need any more from that. That was good. The We Believe Warriors, that was a, 1.5 year run. That was fun. So they always had some sort of really fun elements, which is why I always had been such a big fan. And then I would say this one was kind of a follow-up passion project, because I did something similar with Miami Heat, basically sort of documenting the 4 years that LeBron was there in the Big Three era. And that one was great. And it was very much, obviously my hometown, the team that I covered for about a decade or so. And so when we talked about doing another one, it just kind of felt right that it'd be the other team that I, have a long history with in terms of emotionally. And then it was a 10-year anniversary of that first championship. So it kind of made sense to do it now. And the more, I got into it, the more you realize how much happened in those 10 years.
So Dub Dynasty, you can find it wherever you get your audio podcasts. I started it today. It's good stuff all around. Give me a peel back of the curtains, the most influential or I guess shocking development that happened during this dynasty that you didn't realize.
What I honestly didn't realize is just the level of divide there was when they made the coaching change from Mark to Steve Kerr. I'd known that there were some people who were Mark Jackson guys. I didn't know really who the Mark Jackson guys were. And it was just pretty eye-opening to see that, there was Steph Curry was somebody who, liked Mark Jackson and was skeptical about the whole situation. And I thought that was such a crucial decision, obviously, because if you don't make that move, who knows what happens with Mark? And it could just be very frustrating, bang your head against the wall for a decade and never get anything actually out of it. And it just turns out to be such a great fit, those two human beings, Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. So I'd say that was probably the most surprising to me. And, I think I didn't really realize, because I guess because in the moment, everybody just thought, hey, of course you got to go for 73-9. But they were pretty divided in the locker room too that season about going for the record and what that meant to the sort of wear and tear of the team. And I guess by the end of that season, Andrew Bogut kind of proved to be right by saying, no, we should have just rested instead of going to try to go for 73-9. But then again, Steph could still slip in Houston. You never really know what happens if they do rest. So I don't know. I'm still kind of torn on that, whether I would want to be on the team that broke the regular season record but didn't win the championship. Like, which one is a bigger deal?
Definitely check out the pod. New episodes drop every Tuesday. We've had Andrew Bogut, Kevon Looney, Andrew Wiggins, DeMarcus Cousins, Trae Young. Really good guests on this show, and it's very well produced. The soothing voice of Israel Gutierrez, who's joining the show today. You may recognize him from Around the Horn, highly questionable. You've seen his work nonstop, and he's always good on the airwaves, and he's good in this podcast as well. But flipping from the podcast to the modern day Golden State Warriors dynasty, I mean, it's not over until it's over. They're a 7 seed, but they're a favored 7 seed, and they're up 1-0 against the Houston Rockets in this series. What do you think? I mean, does this team have the juice to go all the way, or is it more so how far they can go?
So I've been a little bit back and forth on this. Shortly after the Jimmy trade, I sort of just had callbacks to the 22 season and just what it takes to really get it done when you have Steph and Draymond. And by that, I mean, it doesn't take that much more. And, you saw these guys play with Jimmy and it seemed like a great fit. I was a little more concerned, toward the tail end of the season, just because of the size and maybe the depth up front. And I thought, going through the playoffs, you would have to have some level of variety, even in the championship years, they did have that sort of a combination of Jaja and JaVale or, Bogut before they went small. And so I didn't think they had enough, but it's just crazy how great a defender Draymond Green is, like arguably the greatest defender of all time, because that first game against Houston, like he absolutely punked Şengün. And I've been a Şengün guy. I've been a Rockets guy all season. In fact, I came into this actually leaning Rockets. And then you see how Draymond can take a guy out of his game, even though he put up good numbers or whatever, take a guy out of his game. And that it only takes one sort of demoralizing burst from Steph. And that's kind of enough to beat a team like the Rockets, who certainly, are young and don't have as much playoff experience, but it's also enough to beat, other teams, because we've seen Jimmy do, wreck the Milwaukee Bucks on his own when he was, Giannis was a favorite. Let's just put it that way. And if you have the two of them, Steph and Jimmy, and of course they can't miss any time, they can't really get hurt, which they both have in playoff runs in the past. I just think there's nobody in a 7-game series that I would say they can't beat 4 times. Now, can they get unlucky? Can, some other team get hot? Yeah, but I do think they have enough to win a championship. Not predicting it, just think they have enough.
That's the thing. They've showed us all year that they can beat anyone. They've showed us all year, dating back to a week ago when they lost the San Antonio Spurs, that they can legitimately lose to anyone. The question becomes consistency in a 7-game series when you only have to win 50-something% of your games. How are they going to be? And that's something that we had no idea until game 1. And they look pretty damn good in game 1, winning by double digits against the Rockets. But with Israel, I had to do it. Got his perspective on the whole Jonathan Kuminga situation, receiving DNP after DNP the last week. What's his take?
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and you place your first $5 bet, you will get $250 in bonus bets if that bet wins. FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking your favorite team, whether it's diving into player props. You have many options on FanDuel, from 3-pointers to steals to assists You can even combine live prop bets into same-game parlays for chances to win big. 3-game parlays, 4-game parlays, 5-game, dare I say 6-game parlays. Hell, you could go up to 10. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. And no, they don't cap you at 10. 12 games. It's the NBA playoffs. It is a great time to get in on the action. You could do it at FanDuel.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
It's Jimmy Butler, though. He's changed everything. He has been beyond what I imagined for this team. It has just fit in from day one. Do you think Jimmy Butler is somehow underrated in this game?
You know what's funny about the whole trade deadline situation is it seemed to me and a handful of people that I've talked to about it that the Warriors were the perfect spot for Jimmy. It seemed kind of confusing as to why initially both sides didn't really want to get together. Maybe it was the reputation of Jimmy, and maybe they had the wrong idea of who he was. And maybe for Jimmy, it was just about which team he knew was going to give him the extension and the money that he wanted. But after it happened, I was just like, of course, this is the perfect fit for him. Not only is he personality-wise a great fit next to Draymond, and style of play a great fit next to Draymond because they're both just defensive-minded players first, I would say, but just the balance that he offers. It's like it's even a better fit than KD, which obviously not the same player, but a better fit in terms of what he does to complement both Steph and Draymond, really. So, yeah, I think he's underrated. I don't think he's underrated anymore. Not after those couple of playoff runs with Miami. I think it's more people recognize that he could fit in different spots and different teams. I mean, even the fact that he was able to help that Philly team that probably should have beat Toronto, probably should have gotten further than it did, as effectively their number 3 option, but found exactly when to be a little bit more assertive. And so if you're telling him, hey, I've only got to defer to Steph Curry, and then I can just be me, and the offense changes for me because we're not running Steph stuff and me getting the ball. Everything else slows down. I get the ball. I go to work. Yeah, that's a perfect fit. So I think what people are seeing is just exactly what he's capable of when he's engaged and really motivated.
He's clearly the second best player on this team. That title was supposed to, maybe not supposed to, but in terms of second best scorer, Jonathan Kuminga was a hot pick at the beginning of the season. He's turned into a player that's now getting DNPs, and it looks as if he's going to be leaving town in the offseason. All signs point to that. How do you think Steve Kerr's handled this situation? Because as a host of a podcast, I get some of the angriest people on planet Earth that think Steve Kerr legit has no idea what he's doing. He doesn't know the game of basketball. The rings are a byproduct of Jordan and Duncan and Curry and have nothing to do with Kerr. I mean, what do you think of this whole situation that has been a little bit strange?
Well, let me ask you a question, because maybe I'm not as don't have any names off the top of my head, but do you remember anybody that the Warriors sort of gave up on or came off of that was really successful elsewhere? I can't really think of it, right?
I got nothing for you.
Obviously, you think of James Wiseman. It's like, nope, he didn't really do anything after they gave up on him. And
I mean, Jordan Poole scores.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Poole. So I have, and I'm not on the side of those people who say that Steve Kerr only knows how to win one way, and if you don't win his way, then you're just going to be a waste of talent. I don't really buy that whatsoever. I think Jonathan Kuminga has been, he's played several roles here, and we've seen him get the opportunities. And I don't see a player who is being utilized improperly. I don't see talent, pouring out of him that is just like, oh, clearly he should be doing this instead of what he's. I just see, a player who doesn't really seem to fit with this group. And in terms of the type of effort he gives, I mean, I don't notice anything myself, but I would imagine that part of the frustration is, hey, if I don't get what I want, I'm not going to play at the level that I can play. And so there's probably a little bit of that going on. I just think it's, he tried and the time's up. And I don't think that it means anything terrible about Steve Kerr. I don't think it means anything terrible about Jonathan Kuminga. I think he can probably find himself a role on a team somewhere else in the league. But I mean, this is a team that knows how to win. And if you are given multiple opportunities and you're still not in their favor, then I think maybe the problem is yourself. And so I think it might just be time for Kuminga and the Warriors to be done.
Yeah, and Jimmy Butler is brought in to kind of do a little bit of what Kuminga does, and he just does it at a higher level, does it at a smarter level, and you can't make the argument that Jonathan Kuminga is better than Jimmy Butler. And quite frankly, I think you're fooling yourself if you think that Jonathan Kuminga has a ceiling of Jimmy Butler. I think it's just a ridiculous thing to think with what we saw, age or not. Fan base. One of the interesting things that I heard on the podcast was you talking about how this fan base turned from a niche Bay Area diehard following to a kind of global sensation, right? Like one of the second most valuable franchise of any sport in the United States of America. How have you seen this thing develop over the last 10 years?
Just so I'm safe, like I wasn't wrong, right? Like it was kind of just the Bay loved it and nobody else knew what was going on there, unless, the We Believe Warriors shocked the world.
You're not wrong there.
Okay. Good. Like I was at the Jimmy's game or the Warriors game in Miami, Jimmy's return game in March 25th. And I don't know if maybe when I was on the road for other games, maybe I wasn't in the crowd as much before games, but being outside, is sort of doing like on the field reporting, looking around at so many Steph Curry jerseys. It was like jaw dropping. You're supposed to be like, hey, maybe it's a Jimmy Butler tribute. Maybe more people are going to come to see. Like there was 10 Steph Curry jerseys for every Jimmy Butler jersey. And when I went to talk to at least like 7 of them, most of them either didn't speak English or barely spoke English. And so it's just like, he is just an international phenomenon that, of course, the Warriors and their brand get to benefit from as well, which is part of like him being this guy who's never going to change teams. He's going to be, the Dirk Nowitzki mold. Like for somebody to have this level of success, to have this many opportunities, I would say, to be like, you know what, this time is done. I got to move on, or I got to maximize my potential. I'm going to go somewhere else. And like, he was able to stick with it and still provide that same level of joy and still sort of be an extension of his coach. Like, I don't think there'll be another dynasty of this length, of this type, because of that. Like, I don't think there'll be a player that'll stay, I'm steering away from your question, but I don't think there'll be a player that'll stay with an organization that long, with a coach that they have that level of bond with for that long, and still have the same drive for as long as they do. And I mean, Steph is a player who doesn't need physically to be, in this tremendous shape, obviously conditioning wise, but doesn't need to hold up, physically and be this Dwight Howard sort of person. I think this might be the last dynasty of this length. And so to wrap back around to your question, it's just people love winners, obviously. And then when you pair that with somebody as lovable as Steph Curry, who is on every single level and every single time been confirmed to be just an awesome dude, people are going to gravitate toward that, and we're seeing the results of it.
I thought from day one, like the hero that was born during March Madness, you knew that if he got some good years behind him, that he was going to be a fan favorite.
No, when you look back, it's wild. Like LeBron James just showed up to your games, and then there was this one game, I forget the team that they played. There was this one game where this one coach just decided he was just going to double him the entire game, and he scored 0 points. They lost by 20, but he was happy about it. And I was just like, how did we not know back then that this dude was different and he would change the game, because he was changing it at the time?
Coming up, how's Israel seen this fan base change over the years, and how long could Steph Curry in this current iteration of the Golden State Warriors keep this dream alive? We're debating.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
You got some nice ancillary pieces. It's Pajemski, it's Moody, it's Quentin Post. You've made some good draft picks. Has Mike Dunleavy and Bob Myers before him. Made a few. Kuminga, probably not part of this future equation. You look up and down the roster and you don't see that cornerstone, that franchise piece. However, there's a lot of money coming off the books in 3 years with Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler, to where you can sign whichever free agent you want and make him the cornerstone that way. But can this thing last 3 years? Like, aging superstars, it's so hard to tell, because if you want to point to history, the answer is no. Like 3 36-plus-year-olds on the same team, they're not going to compete for NBA championships. But we've seen it with LeBron, we've seen it with KD, and now we're seeing it with these three that don't seem to be slowing down. You know, Curry, the second half of the season, he's had just as good of a half year as he's had any half year of his career. Yeah. He's been awesome. Butler's been so damn good. Draymond,
I don't
potentially
know.
Defensive Player of the Year. Like, when is this going to slow down?
That's what I was asking myself about Steph. I don't know what about him will slow down. Like, the hand-eye coordination's not going anywhere. Like, the conditioning is still great. You know, he doesn't, you know, what he's losing physically, a little bit of speed. I mean, I don't really know what he's losing physically. And so as long as he stays healthy, I believe he can do this, you know, into the LeBron years, into his early 40s, at a high level. Now, Draymond, I also believe, can do what he does at a high level for a few more years. He might have to pick his spots. Like, he can't be Depoy level of defensive player during the regular season for the next few years. But the fact that he can do it at this age tells you he's still got some left, that he's still in, you know, whatever last end of his prime, he's still there. And so, yeah, I think it can last a few more years, because you can also, in the same way you got sort of unlucky with Kuminga, or maybe, you know, with Moses Moody, you would hope for a higher ceiling. You could get lucky in free agency. You could get the situation where it's just like, even if Steph wins one this year, people want to join him and win another one. You know what I mean? So they'll come in at a discounted contract. So I definitely feel like sort of, especially if this postseason continues to go well, like they go conference finals and maybe, you know, look like they need one more piece, or even finals, and think the same thing. I think you're going to see some more intrigue in people wanting to play there. And I think they can sort of cap off another one and try to get to Kobe at 5 or MJ at 6. Like, I think it can last at least another 2-3 years.
We love hearing that, man. We'll see what they do in the offseason. Israel Gutierrez, thank you for joining the show today. Dub Dynasty, check it out wherever you get your audio podcasts. Really good stuff, a behind the scenes peel back of the curtain on the Golden State Warriors' rise in the last decade. We going to see you on Around the Horn before they shut that thing down? Have they shut it down? I think we're
doing one. I think they told me one time we're going to try to get as many old panelists on in the month of May before they shut it down. And one thing I'll say too about the podcast that I really enjoy, and it's not like, you know, we live in a time where everything's, you know, out there and the stories have been dug up, but going back, it's not just about, oh, wow, I didn't know that. You get like really goosebump type of moments, like listening to these, you know, calls again, and like hearing some of these people talk about it, some of these players talk about it. It's just, I don't know, it's just a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of a novelty to it, which, you know, I really felt when I did the Miami Heat, when I heard from a lot of my fans who were like just super deep Miami Heat fans. They said, I don't know if I learned anything from that podcast, but damn it, it was good. So for those Warriors fans who think they might know everything, it's still worth giving it a listen.
Good listen. It's like, what, 50 minutes long, something around that
episode, something in that range.
Yeah. So digestible and good stuff all around, narrated, written, produced, everything by Israel himself. Thanks for joining the show today, man.
My pleasure. Thanks.
That's going to do it. Thank you very much for tuning into the program today. It's Rockets and Warriors Wednesday night, Game 2 from Toyota Center in Houston. Story of Game 1 was a 95-85 win for Golden State. Got out to the huge lead in the second quarter, extended it in the third quarter to, forget just a huge lead, a massive lead, 23 points. Sure, that's not a ton in the NBA nowadays with the way that, quite frankly, the Warriors and the three-point shot have changed the association. Against the Houston Rockets, however, it's tough to blow that lead, and they did it earlier in the year with a 30-point lead that they Warriors wound up winning in overtime. And a lot of the reasons why the Rockets are able to get back into it is just second chance points and extra shots and relentless defense. I mean, it was the Warriors who had the better defense in the game, and that's why Golden State was able to win this one. But when it comes to the rebounding battle, I don't see any scenario where Golden State's really competing on the glass in terms of even numbers. Like, it was not even close in that regard. Rockets winning by 16 rebounds in the game. May as well get you the real numbers. 52 for the Houston Rockets, 36 for Golden State. So yes, 16 in that department. Steven Adams had like 6 in a minute, it felt like. I mean, it was 2-3 shots every single possession, it felt like. And that's what the Rockets do. They rebound a third of their misses, and they miss them a lot. It's not a good shooting team. If Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet shoot like that, the Rockets are going to lose every single game in the series. They're not both going to shoot like that every single game. Can one of them step it up? That's what Houston's hoping. And for Warriors fans, I think everyone's just hoping that Şengün continues to, head to the bench in inopportune moments while the Rockets are getting back into things, and they don't give him as many touches as maybe they should, because Şengün provides a problem for the Warriors. However, Draymond did a pretty good job. Warriors did a good job guarding the Rockets as a whole, despite being somewhat undersized, very undersized in the interior, especially if Kevon Looney is not really grabbing rebounds and being a factor down low in his few minutes. Appreciate you guys for joining into the show, for all the support, for the comments. Leave the comments, the thumbs up, the subscribes, everything. Means more than you know, and puts bread on the table. Hopefully the Warriors can put some rings on their fingers, and you all can have a blessed Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday night, whenever you're listening to this. Have a blessed day. Peace, everyone.